Well, good morning, everybody. July the 19th. At least I think it's July the 19th. It's Friday. As you can see, I'm in the hoopos. Gone through a bit of a drought here. Not so much without rain or whatever, although we did have several nice sunny days. But I survive on a very deep well, 220 feet deep, which has a submersible pump at the bottom of it. And the pump was, part of it anyway, was over 30 years old, and a few days ago it gave up the ghost. So I went 2 days at least without water, and I was getting quite concerned because we were having some nice hot sunny weather, and the outside gardens were okay, but in the hoopos here they dry out very fast. But anyway, things survived. A couple of $1,000s later, I have a whole lot of new well equipment, and we've got water again. I want to take you on a little tour in here of some of the things that I planted just a couple of weeks ago, transplanted in here a couple of weeks ago, show you how well they're doing, and then I'll look at the brassicas that have been in here since spring, some of which are really starting to do quite well. I'm going to harvest the largest kohlrabi right now, and I'll give you a look at the other things as well. And some of the improvements, especially in the peppers, the ones that were shaded out by the large mustard greens that were in here are now really coming to the fore again, that they're getting full sunlight. Anyway, let's have a little look around. I don't think I have shown you the two plum trees, the two fig trees since late winter, early spring, when they didn't really even have leaves on them. This is the one that was definitely winter killed. I had covered it with a large plastic garbage can that I use to store water in the summertime so that the water's warm when I put it on the plants here. And it has had to come back from the root, and it's now, I guess it's probably approaching 2 feet high, with no sign of figs again. I didn't get any figs off it last year. It did the same thing. And anyway, I won't turn around and show you the one behind me. It's looking just the same as this, but the artichoke is in the way, so I can't get a good shot of it. It was the one that I thought had made it through the winter. If you remember that video back early spring, I thought the buds on it looked like they were okay. Well, they weren't. It was just as far gone as this one was, and it's come back from the root and from some little bits of branching out from way down close to the ground level. So I don't know. I'm still going to keep trying. I've now heard another way of trying to bring these through the winter. There's a thing called electric heat tape. People that have trouble with water pipes freezing in the wintertime in older homes and whatever in the basement, they wrap this electric heat tape around the pipe, and it's thermostatically controlled. If the temperature should go down below freezing, it comes on and heats the water in the pipe so that it won't freeze. Well, someone told me about, you wouldn't wrap your tree in it, but draping some inside of it and maybe some around the base of it, and then covering it with something that would breathe, like a row cover or a blanket or whatever. So keeping it plugged in all winter. It would probably stay on most of the winter here because, well, in the daytime it warms up in here, but most of the time it's quite cold here. So I'm thinking about giving that a try, and next spring, see what happens. Show you then, I guess. Well, these are those small pickling cucumber plants that I transplanted in here. I'm not certain. I have to look back at the video to get the actual date, but I believe it was in the last couple of weeks. Anyway, once they get into the ground and all the nice warm hot weather we've been having, they've really taken off. You see one lower right corner there that I've got to encourage it to go up the chicken wire, I guess. It's sort of leaning out into the aisle, but the rest of them have already found it with their tendril things and are hanging on. They'll be to the top of this. It's at least 6 feet, maybe 7 feet tall. In no time at all. I had someone ask about the temperature in here, and I hadn't checked the Minimax thermometer in a long time, so I couldn't give them an accurate reading, but I just had a look at it, and so far this summer the hottest in here is 47 degrees, and in the Fahrenheit system that's roughly 113, so there's plenty of heat in here, and that's why I have to make sure I keep it well watered. Those are the new tomato seedlings that I transplanted the same time as the cucumbers and the other brassicas that I put in here. and I have had to buy more bamboo stakes. They are all determinate, so they're not going to go terribly high, but they still tend to flop over. I'm just looking behind me here at the other ones that are the same variety, but they've been in since spring, and they're probably close to 3.5, 4 feet high, so no great tomatoes on them yet either, by the way. But if they get tomatoes in weight, they'll fall over if they're not supported. So bamboo stakes, and then I use that Velcro tape stuff, which works very well to hold them up. These haven't been Velcroed yet at all. They're not that tall, but stakes are ready. Well, on the left-hand side there, those are the various kinds of brassicas that I transplanted that a couple of weeks ago again. And they have really, I don't know, more than doubled in size, I guess. The reason I'm doing this has been an experiment to see if I could grow these sort of things, which are generally considered to be cool weather crops, if I could grow them in the heat in the hoopos. And for the most part, it seems to be working out. I'll give you a look at the heads of broccoli that have started to form. They still haven't bloomed or anything, but they don't look quite normal. Kind of long, funny sort of looking, but anyway, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be good to eat, but they are a little different. Give you a look at those now. Well, if you can see what I mean, they're kind of, I don't know, like they're stretching up towards the light or something. There's been plenty of sun. I suspect maybe the heat has made them grow like that. And they are getting, what would be blossoms are getting bigger, but so far there aren't any yellow blossoms, so I'll wait till I see the first yellow blossoms starting to come out and cut those off and see what they're like. Can't see it, I don't think, in this shot, but there's also some side branching happening already, even though the top ones haven't been cut. These are the collard plants. I think there are 3 plants there, and the leaves are getting nice and big. I think pretty soon now I'm going to take some of the lower leaves and have my first collards. I'm sure I'm going to like them. They look like cabbage leaves or whatever, but I've never eaten collards before. Never known anybody around this part of the country that grew them. They seem to be a southern thing. Down in the southern United States, is all of the gardeners on YouTube, they're the ones that seem to be growing them, but I'm glad to give them a try. I love greens of any kind. Well, I guess that shows. That's one of the 2 cauliflowers. I've never grown cauliflower before, so I'm pleased to see that it's starting to head up then in there. It's probably only 1.5 inches, 2 inches across right now, but looking good for me anyway. I think I tried a few times in the past, but I never was successful at it. Well, that's my best kohlrabi. There are only 2, and the other one is probably roughly, I don't know, half that size, I guess, right now. But I'm just about to harvest that guy, and I'll give you a closer look of it in my hand in a minute here, so you can see the actual size. I don't know. I guess maybe they get tougher like anything else. I don't want it to grow any larger than that anyway. It's plenty big enough. I like them shredded in coleslaw. They're very tasty that way. I've never cooked one. I'm not sure what they would be like if you cooked them. Anyway, I will cut it down and give you a look at it here in just a second. There it is with most of the larger leaves cut off, which I'm sure the hens would enjoy. They love the cabbage family leaves. I thought I might leave the smaller ones on, see what they're like maybe as a cooked green, and steam them or whatever. Maybe some other greens later on. I'm quite pleased with that. At least I know for sure you can grow a kohlrabi in the hothouse here. On the bottom of the frame there, that's some of the pepper plants that were looking quite sickly and yellow because they've been shaded out by the mustard greens. I've given them an application of Epsom salts and keeping them watered regularly, but they've turned a much darker green and there are lots of blossoms on them. If I can switch over here a bit. Those are 3 of them are the sweet bell pepper variety. Once again, I'll put the list down below this video. And the one in the upper right is a hot wax, Hungarian hot wax. And I guess I've eaten one. There's 2 or 3 more on it. And I see another plant here that's got 2 or 3 more on it. The one that I ate, I didn't find it very hot at all. I like hot peppers. It just had a little bit of heat. And behind that, boom, those are the tomato plants. which have lots of blossoms, and some very, very small tomatoes, but nothing to get excited about yet. Hopefully, as time progresses here, they'll get a little bigger. And I don't know if I mentioned or not when I was showing you the tomato seedlings, the ones that I just transplanted. I don't believe I have any hopes this fall of actually seeing ripe tomatoes on those, but I will be glad to have some green tomatoes. I make a green tomato chow chow, or a relish that I really like, and I can also use them in a hot pepper relish if I get enough of these Hungarian wax hot peppers to make a relish there. But I'd be very surprised if those ripened later in the fall, but I've harvested a few of the beets, had some myself and gave a few to a friend. I'm trying to resist harvesting any more because I want to do pickled beets, but got to brag about the beets again. I'm very impressed. They are still sizing up nicely. Have to be watered every day or they start to wilt, so I guess that's another good indication they're using up all the moisture to grow with. But my best year yet with beets. Well, this is that hybrid small slicing cucumber. It's growing in a smart pot on the bench. The earlier leaves, which I guess don't show in this particular, I can get it back a bit with it. Yeah, the earlier leaves back up on where the pot is have started to turn very yellow. Well, that happens sometimes, I think, with cucumbers anyway, but I've given them an application of the Epsom salts, hoping that will help. And if you watched my last video where I harvested my first white cucumber, it looks so good. That was a nasty, bitter tasting thing. I couldn't possibly eat it. It ended up in the compost. There's been one additional one since then, and I gave that to a friend with a warning that it may not be any good. And she sent me an email last night, and she said, it's just like the one you ate. There's no way anybody could eat that. I've moved the pot out of the hoop house, and it's outside. Thinking the heat might have something to do with it, but the second one came off of it when there wasn't any heat, so I'll give it another chance with one more, and after that I think the whole thing's going to hit the compost heap. Well, after the pruning that I did on the grapevines and removing the small clusters of grapes, the ones that I left behind are starting to size up nicely. It's difficult to show you the size and what you're looking at. They're not huge. Not even the size of a good sized marble yet, I would say. Maybe half marble size, but that's a pretty good cluster there. Once they all get up to something like true size, it should be a good bunch of grapes. So everything's going well so far. The vines are still growing very well in here. I don't see any problems with the leaves, disease, or anything like that. And a few videos ago I put manure and bedding out of the chicken coop out behind the hoop house, and I don't know if it's beneficial or not, but I certainly don't see where it's done anything harmful, so I think I will continue and add more of that before fall. Well, so far I've only had one artichoke that I've been able to eat because the plant has only produced 2, so I'm allowing this last one to carry on and bloom, and hopefully I'll get it pollinated and save some seed just in case I'm losing this thing. I don't know. It's down to a tall, spindly stalk, which is still looking relatively healthy, and there is a small seedling down at the base which doesn't seem to be doing too much. It's sending out 1 or 2 new leaves I see there, but anyway, I'm worried about losing my artichokes. I'm going to let this bloom and gather some seed.